The White House says President Trump is considering options, including the use of military force, to acquire Greenland as a national security priority. A statement from the White House press secretary said, President Trump has made it well known that acquiring Greenland is a national security priority for the United States. And of course, utilising the US military is always an option at the Commander-in-Chief's disposal. Well, the self-governing Arctic island is part of the sovereign territory of the Kingdom of Denmark, a NATO ally. Denmark has previously warned that any US attack would spell the end of NATO. On Tuesday, European leaders, including Keir Starmer, issued a joint statement saying that Greenland belongs to its people and that it is only for Denmark and Greenland to decide its future. Our North America correspondent, David Willis, has the latest.
We need Greenland for national security.
We have to be there. If we're not there, we can't have national or international security.
Right now, Greenland is covered with Russian and Chinese ships all over the place. We need Greenland.
Donald Trump has made little secret of his interest in the world's largest island. But last night came evidence of what he's willing to do to get it. In a statement, the White House said the president had been discussing a range of options with his advisers, among them the use of military force. The Trump administration sees the semi-autonomous region of Denmark as a vital staging post from which to counter security threats posed by adversaries such as Russia. It also has its eye on the natural resources that lie beneath Greenland's Arctic ice caps, among them rare earth minerals such as iron and uranium. A report in the Wall Street Journal says Mr. Trump's Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, told US lawmakers the president's threats don't signal an imminent invasion and that the goal is to buy Greenland from Denmark rather than invade it. Last year, Mr. Trump dispatched his vice president and his son in an attempt to curry favour with the locals.
We're going to go see a lot of the sites, talk to some people, and have a good time.
But following the dramatic raid on Venezuela and the capture of its leader, Nicolas Maduro, last weekend, the mere mention of military force is enough to set alarm bells ringing. Both Denmark and the US are members of NATO, and earlier other members, including the UK, France, Italy and Germany, issued a statement saying the people of Greenland and Denmark were the only ones who could decide the territory's fate. And much as Donald Trump may covet Greenland, opinion polls show most people there have no interest in becoming part of the United States. David Willis, BBC News.
Let's speak to our diplomatic correspondent, James Landale. Hi, James. So how significant do you think this latest statements are from the White House?
I think they're very significant. If you have one member of NATO, the most powerful military force within the NATO alliance, threatening military action as an option against another NATO ally, that has to be taken seriously. It has to be taken seriously in the same week when that ally, the US, has deployed aggressive military force against another country. And therefore, it has to be taken very seriously. Now, yes, there are some American voices now saying, look, this is not imminent, and that actually there are other options on the table. Marco Rubio reportedly telling US congressmen that actually their aim still, their long-standing hope is to buy Greenland. There are other people talking about maybe what's called the technical phrase is a compact of free association, which essentially is a deal that the United States has done with some Pacific islands, where they basically said, look, we're going to give you lots of economic aid. In return, we take over all your defense and security. So those other options are there, but the scale of European concern has been illustrated by that joint statement that a lot of the European powers gave, making it very clear yesterday that the future of Greenland is a matter for the people of Greenland and Denmark. The real concern here, what really worries European allies, is this, and that is that if the US genuinely believes that, and there's a reason to believe this, that there are genuine security issues to be addressed in the Arctic, they can be addressed bilaterally with Denmark. They can be addressed with multilaterally within NATO. In other words, if the US wants to stick another military base, he's already got one in Greenland, it probably could do so in agreement with the Danes. The Danes have been very open and amenable to all of this. And so what they say, look, you can protect US interests. It doesn't actually have to involve US control over sovereign territory currently owned by another member of NATO.
But James, we had a senior member of the Trump administration saying effectively, yeah, but who's going to stop us? No one's going to fight us over this. So it doesn't matter in a way how many strongly worded statements are put out by concerned European leaders. If they make that decision is that.
Absolutely. The United States has overwhelming military force. I think the likelihood of any Danish or other European force attempting to fight an American aggressive seizure of Greenland is very, very unlikely. But at the same time, if that were to happen, then the transatlantic alliance, all the European voices I've been speaking to and other European leaders, including the leader of Denmark herself, say, look, that means the end of the NATO alliance. Because the NATO alliance ultimately is based on trust. And essentially the message that the Europeans are trying to send to the Americans is, say, look, if you seize Greenland, that is the end of NATO, and therefore there are costs involved. I think there are some voices in European countries saying that those costs have to be increased and made increasingly clear to the Americans, that there will be economic costs as well. In other words, that the fundamental sort of Western European transatlantic alliance would be utterly transformed by this. And I think that's why most people are thinking at the moment that some form of aggressive military action is unlikely. Simply because, I mean, aggressive military action would take, a couple of companies of Marines and a few helicopters. Greenland has 57,000 people. There are very few Danish military forces there. There are American military forces already there. The military option is not, you can't compare what happened in Venezuela to anything that potentially could happen in Greenland.
James, great to see you. Thanks for that.